Live. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're so excited to be here. I am David, Papa. We got Nikki Finucan. We are the Change Tribe so far. Maybe you as well. We are so happy to be here for our very first episode of Connected People Change. It's a show, it's a live show where we're going to be sharing tips and tools and experiences and deep ideas about how to thrive in this very fast changing world and how to actually harness the change to create the reality you want. Ideally, a more loving, abundant, fearless, beautiful reality, because that's what we're trying to do at the Change Tribe. We're trying to help create that world by helping each person become their super self, their higher self. So, yes, how are you today, Nikki?
I am glorious, thank you. I'm very excited to be doing our first show. And for luck, I'm wearing our signature Care Bear.
Oh, damn. Got a Care Bear. I'm just saying hello in the chat. By the way, anybody you can chat us while you're listening. We got a few people here listening to the show. So thanks very much for being here. Today's topic is how to thrive, not just survive in today's reality. A lot of us are in survival mode. And I'm going to toss it to you, Nikki, to share your first thoughts on this in a minute. But we see so many people that we're working with that feel like they're in survival mode and they are just sort of trying to keep their head down, keep things kind of stable in what appears to be a very unstable environment, unstable economy, and make it through. The problem with that, well, there are several problems with that, which we'll get into. But I'll let Nikki go first. So what are you noticing here in this survival mode that we're seeing?
Can I just say we were those people too, David?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like,
Well, speak for yourself. No, it was totally. Yeah, I was.
we were those people living in survival mode, working in an energy space that wasn't our own, um, and doing stuff that didn't, fill us with joy and fill us with the passion and the creativity and the abundance that, we want to live in. So, I'm speaking from my own experience here, doing my work in recent years has really made me realize that, you know, for the better part of my career, I was in survival mode. It's why I lost my hair. It's why I got sick and had weird illnesses that doctors were like, I don't know what that is. Stuff like that. Like it was really my body's way of my inner GPS being like, hey lady, move your ass out of this zone. This zone is not for you.
Mm,
So, you know, what we're seeing out there in the world right now is, and, with friends, family, loved ones, change tribe members, we're seeing a lot of people operating from a space of just getting by every day. And by the way, from the outside, it didn't look like I was just getting by. Had a great job, earned good money, did all the right things, ticked all the right boxes, but actually, I was surviving. I mean, hell, I even left my home country because I recognized I was somewhere inside. I recognized I was just surviving, which is
mm.
how I ended up here in London, living my best life, having a glorious time, meeting people like you so that we could do cool shit and help others.
Yeah. Okay, but I heard a lot in there. By the way, hello, Cecilia from Ecuador. Thanks very much for joining us. It must be early where you are. Hope you're having a nice Ecuadorian breakfast while you join us here. If you are, let us know what we're eating. I'm curious. What do you eat for breakfast in Ecuador? I want to know. I want to culture myself. So, uh, one thing I heard you say, Nikki, is that the sense of surviving is very subjective. On the outside, things can look good. On the outside, it can seem like, oh, that person looks like they're doing great. They seem like they have a good job. They seem like they're making money. They seem like they're having fun and have their friends, and they seem like their relationship's pretty good. And but on the inside, you feel like like you just make it through each day. It's just like day to day, you're just trying to make it. And of course, you know, in a state like that, it feels sort of, we might bring in sort of the privilege discussion into this, because there are people around the world who are literally physically trying to survive
Yeah.
right now, right? Like
Yeah.
literally just basic trying to survive physically. And yes, hearts go out to them, and hopefully, hopefully, as we all work toward becoming more, peaceful and higher consciousness, we can find solutions to these issues that are making people not survive physically. And and in the Western world, those of us who even might consider ourselves in a place of privilege, inside we can still feel like, oh my God, I'm barely making it through the day. I'm exhausted, I'm stressed, I'm getting sick. And I don't enjoy what's happening, what I'm doing. I don't have clarity of vision where I want to go. And so it kind of forms a loop. That's the other thing I heard you say. It kind of came from what you were talking about. It's like it's a loop. You get in survival mode, and you you're going through the motions. Things are just repeating, and it's like you're in the same situation, and day after day, and it can get it can get very depressing, actually.
Yeah. And I think too, being in survival mode sometimes is the fear spurring us on that, oh, this is the logical thing. Cause, it's not a secret. I'm a recovering accountant. Um, and, that was a logical move. It was rational. It was sensible. It was all the things it should be. But there was a little piece inside of me that was dying because I was just surviving, even though I was doing what was thought to be the right thing,
Yes,
you
this
know?
is a super great point. I also, there was a time in my life where I had a great job. I went to advertising after university, and I was at this really, trendy, interesting advertising and marketing firm. It was cool people. I lived in a cool place outside of Philadelphia in the US. And, I was like, uh, everything on paper, I had this relationship, and she wanted to get married. So everything on paper, it was like, oh, that looks good. But same deal every day I was like, "Is this really what my life is? Like, is this what it adds up to? Like, all my work is," it's like just it felt empty, it felt dead. And the reason for that is we've both learned in our life in different ways. The reason for that is because those choices we made to get into that position, which seemed very logical, rational, and the right decision because of all the pros and cons, all the logical reasons. Actually, those decisions that put us in those positions were driven by fear. It was fear of actually doing what we really wanted to do, fear of actually losing that relationship, fear of not being good enough and not having that status or not having that money, And so we made these decisions that everybody around you supports you. Everybody says, "Yeah, that sounds like a good job. That's good. You should do that." You know what I mean? But no one's asking you, is that what your heart wants? Is that what your love says to do? Is that what your highest excitement is suggesting? They just say, "No, this makes sense. It makes sense." Be very wary, everybody, when people tell you, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." Yeah, in what logic? Because is it the fear-based logic that's actually making sense? Because there's not only one logic in a situation. Humans are driven by your emotional system. So the logic of a situation, quote unquote, is driven by what assumptions underlie that logic, and those assumptions are based on your internal subjective view of the world and yourself. So it's not like there's one logic in a situation about what job you should do, what career you should take. And for many of us, actually, I would say almost all of us, we go through a period in our lives where fear is driving the bus. Fear is making those decisions, and it sounds like logic. It sounds like it makes sense. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I really agree with that. And I mean, I've been in that place. And I think for me, the turning point to all of that. So I'd started to go out on my own a little while ago. And um I the turning point was the GC index for me. So as you know, David, it's the framework, it's the tool, it's the language we use within the change tribe, because it's that moment when I first unveiled that profile, and I get chills now, even thinking back to it. Like, oh my God, I can be that person. I'm not a boring accountant. I really am this interesting, game changing, innovative woman. Like that joy that overwhelmed me and that relief of, oh, yeah, that's who I am. That's who I can be was
Mhm.
so powerful. And it was at the time when the the change tribe was my brainchild. It was the time when I'd had this experience of utter joy of being with people who I could do work that lit me up. I could bring my whole self to work, all of the data, the science, the woo that I love, all of the elements together in one place, in one transformational program with a global client. It was that moment, that defining moment in my life that made me go, I can be something and someone else. And that's who I really truly am.
Mhm.
And the power of that moment switched me from surviving into I can thrive. But it took me years, as you know, we've discussed, of actually playing with that and uncovering all the pieces and the formula to being able to thrive. And it's all the steps that I've undertaken and I've experienced. And it's the joy. I'm not sitting here saying there aren't moments today where I'm like, oh yeah, I should do these things because, you know, that's the logical, rational thing that I should do. Now, when it happens though, I have a language, I have a framework, I have a connected place to anchor back to go, oh no, wait, hang on. Hold on. What's driving the bus right now? Is it my excitement and joy and love, or is it my fear?
Mhm. Yeah. That's the first, probably exercise anybody could take away from this if, Brendan, Cecilia, anyone else, future listeners and watchers on YouTube and, or, on Spotify, the other places this is gonna be. You know, that's your first takeaway if you want it. We invite you to consistently ask yourself when you're about to make a decision, who's driving the bus? Who's driving the bus on this decision? You know, where's my fear in this situation? Is fear trying to get me to take a certain course here? And is fear making it sound very actually logical? Like it makes sense. Like, oh yeah, I should say yes to this client because it seems like it's a good money project. But actually, your heart is saying, no, do not. They're not a fit for you. You want to do something else. You know, so there's this is the first exercise we suggest that everybody does regularly. Always check in. Where is my fear in a situation? Where is fear trying to drive the bus? Because your fear is automatically trying to drive the bus. It's automatically trying to get you to survive. You know, the reason most of us get into survival mode is because of we made those fear based choices and the fear just snuck in, and, you know, took the steering wheel and made a turn and we ended up somewhere. And then, years later, we might realize, how did I end up here? Well, because you scared and didn't know what else to do. And the fear had an answer. The fear pushed you in a certain direction. And so that's how you get into survival mode because fear is not interested in your thriving. Fear is not interested in your thriving. It's interested in you surviving. So if you've been making decisions from fear, you're just surviving in survival mode. That's what's going to feel like in your system. Now, the other thing I heard you say in what you just shared, Nikki, is that conversely, thriving is also a subjective experience, because it wasn't like there was any sort of specific external material markers that made you say you were start to feel like you were thriving. What made you feel thriving is all of a sudden the person you were being, the vision for yourself of how you could operate in the world, and then starting to act on that. And it sounds like you had a work experience that was mirroring that, and you were like, "Oh my gosh, this is possible." And and so it wasn't like it was. Sorry, I just hit my microphone. If anybody heard that, it wasn't like it was some thriving as defined by I hit some career trajectory, I hit some specific, revenue marker, I hit some certain milestone in my relationship. It's not externally defined. Just like survival is not externally defined. It's an internal experience that completely changes how you operate in the world. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And it was really beginning to work with um my being state. And for me, that was anchored in data. There is still an accountant in there somewhere who loves a good piece of data.
Yeah,
Um,
use the piece of data. We don't like that. Yeah.
I know the strategist in you loves the data as much as I do. What can I say?
Right.
So these terms that, by the way, that David and I are using are part of our GC index language. David is our chief strategist here at the Change Tribe. I am our chief game changer, which is what makes us a powerful combination together and allows us to be in our actual true zone of greatness and the being states that help us thrive, Um, which again, grounding us back to a place and an anchor where there is data that says, this is who I have potential to be. I now get the choice. And for many of us, it becomes choiceless that, yeah, I want to get on that train and be all that I can be so that I can light up the world and bring the love, because that's when transformation can happen. And that's when we all begin to thrive because each of us is thriving.
Wow, beautiful. That gave me goosebumps there a second. You're bringing the love because that's when the transformation happens. And you're saying, what you're saying is, this tool we use, the GC index, of which I am a 10 out of 10 strategist, and you are a what out of 10 game
9 out
changer?
of 10 game
9
changer.
out of 10 game changer. So what we're describing is that's my natural energy for thriving. That's part of my zone of greatness. And that's game changer is Nikki's natural energy for thriving and part of her zone of greatness. And what you're saying is through this report, it was a big turning point for you because you actually had data for yourself. You filled out a bunch of questions. You got it analyzed your answers and it gave you a picture of how do you thrive? Where does your energy go
Yeah.
when you're thriving? And yeah, I also have found that part because there's so many exercises I do for helping people get in touch with their heart. When I'm working with people and helping people get in touch with their higher self and like what's their guidance that's coming in? How do you hear your guidance and act on that? But that's one dimension. You know, Another dimension is you know I mean there are we talk about this all the time in our programs. There are these four levels of learning. This is physical level, mental level, emotional level, spiritual level. You can learn at each of those levels. So there's this kind of connection with your spirit you can create to get your guidance. But then there's also, what about making sure your mind is really on board? And the GC index, this tool we use, is just great for getting your mind to understand how you thrive instead of your mind being this in the fear zone. Because you see when I was when it revealed to me that I was a strategist, I was surprised because I actually guessed wrong. I actually guessed that my top energy would be a different one you know? So it told me out when it said that I'm a 10 out of 10 strategist. I was like, really? Oh, really? And then I started thinking about it and I realized, oh man, all the games I love to play are strategy games. And I started thinking back at work and the different puzzles I've solved, different problems I've solved in different situations. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm constantly, I'm constantly turning things into like a structure we can use. I'm constantly seeing patterns in like the cloud of information, turning into like and actually love making it like a framework we can actually use like that. I find that satisfying. Oh my goodness. Oh my God, I'm a strategist. It was a very, and when I gave myself permission to just let myself be a strategist and use that energy, I also felt a lot of sort of relief and excitement. And I started to um, take on different responsibilities and projects that turned out like I was putting out great work, and it was like, so, so I agree that having some data about yourself can be very helpful for getting you into a thriving zone. I mean, maybe at this point we should, you know, we have about 10 minutes and I recognize that we wanted to take people through some breathing and help them connect with how they're doing. So maybe since we've shared these concepts, we can just, for Brendan and Cecilia and anyone else listening, we can, for the moment, do a little check in. Now that you've heard these ideas about surviving, you heard these ideas about thriving, maybe we can do a check in where you're at. So, do you have any points you want to make, Nikki, before we do a little breathing exercise with people?
No, I think that's good. And you know me, I'm excited for a little breathing and a little connecting. So I'm
Great,
happy to do that.
great, great. Okay, so uh, let's tune in, everybody. Just maybe sit a little bit upright, or I don't know, if you're listening to this driving, don't do this exercise. But, if you're operating some heavy machinery, I would if you're on a tractor, don't do this exercise. But if you're just sitting and listening somewhere where you can or standing somewhere where you can, just for a couple minutes with us, I invite you to close your eyes and start to feel yourself on the inside and slow down your breathing and start to feel your breath on the inside of your body. Mm. And as you're taking some deeper breaths, some slower breaths, and feeling your breath on the inside of your body, just notice, oh, is my body flexed anywhere? Are my muscles being held tight anywhere? Are my shoulders up? Or my hands relaxed? What about my eyes? Just do a scan of your body, looking for anywhere you're holding, and see if you can purposefully relax it. Breathing deeply, purposefully letting every muscle relax. Because I'm going to ask you a question in a minute. So we just want to connect with yourself on the inside. Now I want you to ask yourself, actually, maybe first place your hand on heart. Place a hand on your heart and just feel your breathing happening in your chest underneath your heart. Just connecting to your heart space for a few breaths. Just feeling what it's like in your chest as you breathe in and out. Maybe with your hand on your heart, you feel the warmth there. Just tuning into that heart space. Because I'm going to ask you a question. The question I'd like to ask you is, am I mostly in survival mode right now? And just answer from your heart. Are you mostly in survival mode right now? Just give me a yes or no for yourself. And it might be scary to admit to yourself you're actually in survival mode. There's some fear might come up. That's okay. But just check in with yourself. Is that really true? What I'm answering? Are you in survival mode? Now, what you might recognize is you might not be in survival mode for your whole work, or all your life. There might be certain areas of your life where you just feel like you're operating in survival mode. Are there areas of your life you're operating in survival mode? Okay. Are there areas in your life you're thriving? You would give an authentic, truthful, celebratory yes as an answer to that question. Are there areas in your life where you are thriving? Just feel that, feel what that's like. Now, that internal experience is possible in all the areas of your life, including those ones you were maybe surviving in. So, thank you for that check in. So, Brendan, Cecilia, let us know if that was interesting for you or not, and if you got anything. Nikki, what is your top tip? There's 4 minutes left. We just wanted to do that check in for people to feel like, where are you really? Very rarely do we actually take the time to really check in with ourselves. Where am I really? We have to honestly see before we can change our experience. Yeah, we have to honestly see and honor and bring love to the moment, and then we can change our experience. So um, Nikki, if someone listening to this, did that exercise and found themselves that, oh yeah, there are certain parts of my life I'm in survival mode. Like maybe my relationship is great, but at work I feel like I'm in survival mode, or maybe with my finances I feel like I'm in survival mode right now, or maybe yeah, maybe in the relationship I feel like I'm in survival mode. But okay, so someone identified some place in their life that they feel like in survival mode. Brendan feels taller and more expansive. All right, great. Thanks, Brendan. Really appreciate that feedback. Um, and by the way, if Cecilia and Brendan, you have any questions, feel free to drop in the chat about this topic, or if you have any your own experience you want to share, drop it in there because we have a few minutes before we'll be closing. But so let's say someone's in survival mode, Nikki. Someone identified a place they're in survival mode. What would be your top tip to help them move from surviving to thriving?
I think I agree with you that the first place to start is notice those emotions and let them be there. That's a part of you that's ready to be seen and loved. And know that you're not alone. You're not alone. We're all going through it. Um, we all it's about understanding it first, because that is your internal GPS to give you insights, your emotions. Because I used to rock up to my work and I was difficult to manage, allegedly. I mean, I'm a freaking delight, let's be honest, but allegedly I was difficult to manage. Even though my work was good work and of high quality and all the things that the polisher can bring to who I am and what I do. Um, I was turning up and I was angry all the time and I was frustrated all the time. So those emotions were my internal GPS. So now, knowing what I know now, recognize those emotions and honor them. You don't need to change them. It's okay. And you're not alone. We see you. We've
No.
been there. We go through it even now. Like David and I talk about stuff in our daily stand up every day. It's a key part of what our daily stand up is for us.
Mm.
And then the next top tip I would have is notice where your energy goes when you're working, when you're engaging in different things. Is it draining you or is it exciting you? Because if it's exciting you, you're coming at it from a place of love and joy. If it's draining you, this is where we're we're in that survival mode when fear is driving the bus, has put the indicator on, has done whatever it's going to do. Notice that, um, because that will start to help you tune in more to what you love to do. Um, and the third thing, of course, come and play with us. We've got some cool stuff that'll help you.
Cool.
And
Well,
we're also fun, glorious people.
speak for yourself. No, no, yeah, thank you. Great. Uh, so, so what I heard there was, first of all, um, notice your yeah, and modest, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Brandon points out we're also modest. uh, the what I heard there was that notice your in these areas in your life you might feel like you're in survival mode. Notice your underlying emotional landscape, because if you're feeling that frustration, if you're feeling that anger, if you're feeling that anxiety, that's your internal GPS system saying, "Hey, there's something for you to deal with here. Do not ignore that. Actually, go there and be with those emotions. Find out what they have to say. Find out the insight from those things." If people don't know how to do that work, I highly recommend journaling. Journaling out your emotions, having a conversation with your emotions in a journal. It's a very easy way to extract the insights of what your subconscious is telling you, your emotional system is telling you. And then what I heard you say is, notice where, if you're in survival mode, you're probably feeling pretty drained in an area, but maybe you can start to get out by noticing what things in that area of your life actually give you energy, are not draining you, but actually add energy. Because even in a deep survival mode, there might be one or two things you can find that will actually give you energy in that realm of your life. And if that's the case, put more of your attention there, put more of your focus there. Yeah. And then the third thing you said was, come play with us. We have this, we have a new learning journey that we're really excited to share with everybody. It's called Zone of Greatness. And in the Zone of Greatness, you will get your GC index profile, just like we've been talking about. You'll figure out what your natural energy is for your thriving. But also, there are some other pieces that add up to your formula for greatness. It's literally you can, if you fill in these pieces, you will feel like you are great. You will feel your greatness. You'll know you'll be doing your best work all the time. So, if you're interested in that, you can check out Zone of Greatness. There should be a call to action somewhere on the screen for those people watching. I tried to put that, but if not, you can just go to thechangetribe.org and there's a big button, Zone of Greatness. So, the final thing I would say for people, this is a takeaway, a tip you can use is it's kind of similar to Nikki's advice to understand your underneath emotional landscape, but almost I would add to that, almost all those difficult, uncomfortable emotions at their root is some type of fear. So in that place that you are surviving, you feel like you're surviving in your life, that this area of your life where you feel like you're in survival mode, I would examine, what am I scared of will happen? What am I scared of will happen in this realm of my life? And if you go look at that, you'll be able to understand what's really going on in your system that's holding you down, that's sucking your energy, that's keeping you restricted. And you'll be able to start to free yourself. It'll loosen its grip on you. And you'll start to see new perspectives and new ways if you unpack that question. What am I really afraid of? And of course, that's easier to do when someone's helping you go through that, when someone's holding you in that energy, so maybe you have a friend who can help you, or maybe you have a coach who can help you, or maybe you want to do it with us. That's also an option. But examine, what am I most scared of? Because until you see it clearly, until you see it consciously, that fear is driving the bus deep down on the subconscious level. All right. So I think that brings us to our time. Thank you so much for Brendan and Cecilia for being here live. Anybody who's listening to this, you can join us live. Come to thechangetribe.org and you get on our email list. You'll get updates for when our live shows are. You can come join us live. And Nikki, do you have any final thoughts you want to share with these lovely people? Really, really appreciated being here today with everybody.
So, my final thoughts is we are all great. It is all within us. We are all incredible, special humans who have loads to give and who can make a true difference and impact in our world. And, my wish for all of us, those who are listening, those who have yet to discover us, truly live your greatness because you can make amazing things happen by being in that place. And it is within you. So reach in and unleash it and live your bestest life.
Mm, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. And thank you, Nikki. And uh, we will talk to
Thank you,
you.
Brandon.
Yes. Oh, yeah, you too, Brennan. Thanks so much for being here. Brennan saying it's thanks so much, really inspiring. Great to connect with you both. Yeah, absolutely. Connected people change. That is
Yes.
the name of the show and the Change Tribe's motto. So, ladies and gentlemen, catch us next time live on the next episode of Connected People Change.
Next week, we're talking about why does some work drain you and why does some energize you? So,
Aha.
really, the follow on conversation to this.
That's right. That's right. Because it's not as simple as you think, is it? It's not just you like something and it energizes you, or you don't like something and it drains you. You can actually be your system can actually be afraid of work you love, and it can drain you in work you love. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more next time. Thanks, Nikki, for the reminder. Bad host. Bad host. Okay, I'm David Papa. Thank you
I'm
very much.
Finucan.
Yes, we'll talk to you next time on Connected People Change. Thanks very much.
Bye.